Hello, everyone, and welcome to this preview stream on a very, very warm Monday evening in the tonight. I'm joined tonight by Matt.
Hello, I'm hot. I am promising even lower quality driving than normal in this heat. So we'll see how tonight goes. Welcome everybody.
Yeah, and we have a special guest as well. And tonight we are joined by Alan from Alan Thompson. How are we?
All good, mate. Yeah, I'm the same as Matt. Absolutely boiling hot. But at least I can laugh at Matt's driving because I'm not driving tonight. So it makes me feel. Busman's holiday for me here tonight, so I'm quite happy with that.
Excellent.
Brilliant. So I'll go through the introduction bits. So this is a preview for Manchester Airport Commuter. It is out tomorrow on our normal set times. And there's also the Steam Summer Sale on as well. So if you haven't picked up anything there, you've got some bits to get, some lovely bits for sale in there. And also there's some bits which I'll go through later on in the stream that actually will help you sort of fill your layers, obviously also in Manchester Airport Commuter. The route is 24, so Manchester Airport Commuter is released tomorrow. It's $24.99 with a 20% discount for Glossop owners on Steam, and that's for 2 weeks. So, come and get it when it launches. And so, I think without further ado, shall we start having a look?
Yes, let's do that. Right, so I want that button. Right, hopefully we're going to tweak my volume as we go. Hopefully that's a bit better. I'm not in the red anymore. That's good. Right, okay, let's get into Manchester Airport Computer. You know, when I was young, little aside here, and people would say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, I want to be a commuter." And everyone looked at me really funny, like, "What the hell are you on about?" Because I thought that meant computer. And I felt like anything to do with computers was probably where I wanted to be, but never mind.
Yeah.
You know, you mishear things. I used to think that we were held down at night by gravel as well. You know,
Fair play. Like that.
Go on, sorry.
So I like that. Commuter, I like the mix-up. It's good.
Right. Okay. So scenarios. Do you want to just give us a quick run through of the scenarios, Alan?
I don't know them massively well. It'd be Hayden that'd be your man to do those, but these were done by Mr. Haig. So you've got some of sort of our. These were sort of done on the basis of us learning how to do scenarios. This is going to be a theme for the night, I must say this. So a lot of everything that's come out with this route is about learning, and this was something that Adam Haig learned to do. So we don't tend to have sort of like any sort of background to the scenarios. They are just things that were at the right time, the things we needed to do to learn the skills to show off, really. For scenario sort of creation stuff, it was quite a tough sort of change from TSC to TSW. So there wasn't really anybody in our team that was massively keen to do it. So Adam Haig did stay up and do these, but I haven't played them myself yet, funnily enough, because I was waiting for you guys to show them off. So you guys are going to be the first to be the man and show them off.
Well, I think we're actually doing services, I think, aren't we, tonight? We normally don't run the scenarios on streams because it kind of feels like taking away some of the joy of people finding out and running them for themselves when they buy it and have a look on their system. So we normally run the services from timetable mode. But this is the outline on unit swaps, style line surfeit, single file, returning home, and Stockport shuttle. All using the 323, which is included. Are there any changes on the 323, Alan, compared to the Glossop, wasn't it?
So yes, there is. The 323's been brought up to TSW 5 standards. So it's got the suspension and intersections and a few other bits and pieces in there as well. Guard mode and stuff is all in there. I think that was in for TSW 4, was it? Because wasn't it the first to do guard mode for 323? I think.
Something like that. Yeah, I can't remember. I think it's one of those things that we originally developed guard mode on the 323 because the 350 wasn't available at the time. But I'm not sure whether we ever released the 323 with guard mode on it. So, but then it's good that it's there. It's very good.
The one thing I can say about this is you can guard it from the back cab. Is one of the things I'm told about. That is the big thing about this one. So you can do that.
Excellent. Yeah, I seem to recall a fix going in for that. Right, so we've got 2 service modes. We've got a weekday timetable with nearly 600 services and a Sunday timetable with about 350. Is it just quieter, or the nature of the services different on the weekend?
So the weekend of the services, so what we really wanted to sort of explore a little bit in TSW, we're coming from, again, I'm going to keep saying this a million times as well, coming from the TSC background, one of the things we wanted to explore a little bit more with TSW was the ability to, the on-foot sort of character option. So part of that was to explore depot moves and things that were done pre and before the runs and all that sort of thing. So we've focused quite heavily on depot moves, we've focused quite heavily on ECS stuff. Sort of not the glorious side of a train driver, sort of the hidden glory of a train driver, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, I think, what the Sunday timetable really represents, just the mundane sort of day-to-day work, but actually the thing that keeps the railways running wholeheartedly. To get in the right place at the right time to do the services they need to do.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds
Awesome.
good.
So
was
we're
one thing
on a
I've-
weekday timetable for our services, Jamie?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, bar the depot shunt, everything else is weekday.
Okay, cool. Right, well, hit me up. What's the first one? Oh, let's have a quick look. Sorry, 153, 24, 150, there's 30, 350, there's 54, 323 obviously gets the lion's share with 275. 158's got 10, 390's got 126. Class 66 with 27. One of the questions I noted actually was the freight services. How much of the route do the freight services use? Oh, look at that. The entirety of the main bit, aren't they?
The entirety of it, yeah, they really do the entirety of it. Because they come back through that other section at Piccadilly, is it like towards Oxford Road, sort of that way as well.
Yeah.
So there's the freight services cover the whole lot.
We've got lots of Pendolino stuff as well. We've got the 87.
Yep, the 87's there on a rail tour. There's a couple of rail tours in there. One of the things supposed to point out is that whilst the route is set in a much more to today's standards, the timetable to make use of TSW5 stock available, we set the timetable in 2018, which is where you've got things like the 158 and ScotRail, because of course they were transferred down from ScotRail and did run in the livery for a little while before they were used or re-liveried into Northern. So that's why they are there. So the timetable is 2018.
Excellent. Okay.
Interesting.
So it's sort of our way of trying to make use of the best stock available to not only us but also the community. So there's lots of things out there that if we did it in this day and age would have needed things like the 331 or the 195 and all of that. But 2018 we could cover a lot of ground with the stock that was available in TSW5.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of coverage in that period. Looks like we've got some railhead treatment train stuff here as well. I was wondering why there was a second 66. It's because it's the railhead treatment train version.
That's
excellent. Right, what are we doing first, Jamie?
So 323, 1U94, Blackpool to Manchester Airport.
Sorry, someone's just asking about 158 services.
There are 158 services, yep.
Right, 323. What's the number?
Yeah. 1U94.
Here we go. I'm just going to stick it on clear weather and go for it. And we're just driving. I have got the volume of the game turned down a little bit so that we can, hear ourselves talk and think and so forth. Just feel free to comment on the volumes on the chat and I will adjust as we go. Right, okay, so here we are at Manchester, is this? Blackpool to Manchester, so we are, we're up here. In Piccadilly, platform 14. Right, let's get everything powered up. So turn that.
There we go. We've made quite a few changes to Manchester, haven't you, Alan, as well?
So Piccadilly's had a lot of work done to it, yeah. So it does use the Glossop line Piccadilly, but it's had a lot of things sort of done around it. It's been cluttered up a lot more. There's the Metrolink platforms on where Matsa Canal's to the left-hand side, underneath. I think we've just tried to make it a little bit more alive than it was on Glossop, really, but a lot more explorable, that sort of thing. But it was a very good model to start with. Don't get me wrong. But it was just there was little bits and pieces we could add in that did it the world of good.
No, it looks lovely.
Which I think it's one of the places that I know a lot of people want to explore a little bit more. I think there was a place that was cut off by the I think it was by the barriers there by the gates. But yeah, there's a lot more of it explorable, and so you can walk around.
This is incredible.
Look at that.
So we tried to add for us when we were making this route. One of the things we wanted to sort of explore was how detailed do we make stations? How much detail do we go into? What's our level of acceptability? What do we want to see it used for? And yeah.
Manchester one of the questions is I totally get that. It's one of the questions we sort of wrestle with, as well as sort of like where is the best time to spend that work? It's really awesome.
It's never an easy answer, as you know, Matt. It's definitely never an easy answer. But it's considering you guys did a lot of the work on the station anyway, it was quite nice for us to add those bits in that you guys couldn't put that work to at the time. So it's much better for us to be able to do that and then add into that as well. But yeah, that's kind of where we went with Piccadilly, really. We'd love to have had sort of a bit of AI tram sort of stuff and everything like that, but it just wasn't quite in scope at the time.
Yeah. Got to stop somewhere, haven't you? Otherwise, it'll never come out.
It's in the light of day, yeah. Yeah, it's a long journey. It's a long journey.
Yeah. Get some 323 sounds as well. Lovely.
And it is bad. I know people moan. There's this sort of a thing about not having new stock of this, but I will say the 323 in TSW is one of my favourites to drive anyway. So.
Likewise, the team really were able to get to a good level with that. We got a lot of help from Daisy and other people that really helped us get to the right level on the audio, make sure we had the physics right. So, I tend to agree. It's one of the one-handled. I guess you want to call them super trams. I guess they're relatively straightforward to drive, but it is a fun one to drive.
If you know them, yeah, it's done. It's well rounded, really well rounded in TSW. It does feel like you're driving something nice.
And the Northern obviously is a new livery for the 323 as well, isn't it? I think.
No, the Northern Glossop 323 was this livery in Glossop.
Ah.
That was one of the reasons for picking this route, was that the Northern license in the modern day was already available to DTG, so we were able to piggyback off that.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got the fixes in, the track fixes in, Matt. Brilliant.
Good. That's good to know.
When I streamed it, we were working on a dev build that was a few weeks behind, so it didn't have the TSW5 track fixes in, but now you've got it in there. I'm like, looks so much better.
This looks great.
We did try to sort of. I think it's always a hard sort of decision between performance and everything like that around sort of city and built-up areas, and trying to mix that in and make sure it looks and feels right as well as everything else that's around is always a tricky sort of endeavour. But the team have done a sterling job on this section. I really like how it's all sort of gone. And I mean, this bit here, it's like Glossop goes off to the left there, and then the rest of it's sort of like there's new bits here, there's new bits there. But even the bits that were there in Glossop have been sort of modernised, or different foliage put in, or new assets that sort of just bulk it up a little bit. But still,
one of the things that I noticed actually when I was driving earlier on is you've got these berms down the side here, which just add a whole new 3D-ness, if you want to call it that, to the way the track looks.
So ballast was a big thing for us. It was one of my pet hates of TSW before, was how the ballast was. And then, of course, you guys came with TSW5 and made the ballast shoulder a lot ballast a little bit the render distance much longer. Yeah. But also the shoulder of ballast, so like the cut off of where it comes down off the track and then it's gone. Now, I'm not going to turn around and say we're going to keep this 100% in its doneness for this route, but it's definitely something we look at again when we do new routes, is to look at how the ballast works and the trackside clutter, and trying to get that whole sort of just how the track feels in a big junction like that, or just how it feels on a branch, or just getting that ballast shoulder that little bit wider, merging in with the scenery a little bit more, is definitely something we really wanted to get in right. And I hope we've done a decent enough job with this one already. But yeah, it's something we've worked on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I appreciate the change. It stuck out as everything looks busy, doesn't look empty. I like it. It's something I particularly like to see is anything that makes the track section, the rails, the ballast, the sleepers, all that stuff. Make that area, because that's actually in reality quite an interesting bit, isn't it? There's lots going on there. So it's good to see the detail there.
From an infrastructure perspective, you've got culverts, you've got drains, you've got AWS material, you've got cable trunking, you've got all of that stuff going on. It is primarily in the driver's focus as you're driving the train. It's all well and good being able to look around and see lots of lovely scenery, but the vast majority of what a driver sees is a lot of these things. And that's quite important to us. I mean, coming from a team which is 70% in the rail industry themselves, and quite a few of those are drivers themselves, I think trying to get their experience into an experience that the community can feel and drive is something that they really focused on.
Yeah.
And I think it's worked out quite well. I think stuff has worked out quite well.
No, I agree. Deandra Holmes, I've got the game audio turned down a bit, just because otherwise it can drown. So I have just turned it up a little bit. Hopefully that's a bit better. But no, that's why. If anyone wants the game audio turned up a bit more, let me know, and I'll turn it up some more.
I mean, that's. Was one thing I was going to say, Alan. Do you want to sort of tell you about? This is our first stream with yourselves. Do you want to tell us a little bit about sort of Alan Thompson, your team, yourself, sort of an introduction for those who aren't aware.
Yeah, no worries. So ATS sort of started when I started. Well, it didn't. I started YouTube in 2016, 2017. Funny enough, off the back of watching Mr. P, who's on the chat with us now. I'd been playing Microsoft Train Sim and lots of train sims before that, and a lot of flight sim before that as well. But I ended up watching a lot of Matt P streams and YouTube videos, and then in 2017, I was laid off work with a broken cruciate ligament, and I was just finding myself going a bit deeper and deeper and deeper. So I ended up thinking of something to take my mind off it and sort of make myself feel a bit better. So I started doing weird YouTube videos of train sim stuff, and what that did was basically open up into a massive conundrum of strange things. And then I met a guy called Pete Mitchell, who was a route designer and a route builder. He did XC Route back in the day. He got in touch with me, and then we ended up meeting in a pub locally to me because he had an uncle who lived in Cambridge. And we sort of, on the back of a cigarette packet, decided to sort of start ATS. And that's how it sort of started.
Wow.
It wasn't really anything. We didn't expect it to go how it went. We were sort of looking at sort of what was around at the time and what we could do and how we could. One of the things of ATS that we really wanted to do was try and make sure that everybody had the opportunity to get something out. I think back in the day there was a little bit, especially in Train Sim Classic, there was a bit of like some people could do some things and some people could do not some things, and me and Pete just kind of went, let's try and open that up, and that's what we kind of did. So we started ATS in 2020 actually, fully, and it kind of went from there, and then more and more people got involved, and then more and more people kind of became part of the team. I mean, we still run with the majority of the team we started with, but there's lots of other people we've taken on since then. And yeah, a lot of those guys that we started with back in the day were in their sort of early 20s, and a lot of those are now working on the railway. And now, even as ATS now, we now produce software for the railway industry as well. So we don't just work in the games industry, we also work in the railway industry ourselves. Providing training software and fault finding software and a few other bits and pieces we do, and that's come from doing weird videos on YouTube. So it's worked out really well, and we've been really lucky, and the community has been behind us since the very beginning. We've had a lot of people that have worked with us that have done really sort of new technology, new experiences. One of the things we really sort of based ourselves on was the ability to experiment in Train Sim Classic, and to sort of try new things, and the ability to sort of see if new things would work. and we were able to do that, and it's worked out all right. And then TSW came along, and we've been involved in TSW, I think, since, was it 20? TSW 3, I think, Matt, wasn't it?
I was going to say, I think it's been a good couple of years now.
Yeah, it was the French route, wasn't it? It was the TGV duplex.
Yes.
Matt popped on one of my streams and convinced us to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm not blaming Matt for this, by the way. My money where my mouth is, and yeah, this is where we are now. So yeah, this has been a long journey. It's been a long journey, but I'm really pleased to see this coming out, and it's been a massive learning curve. It's been enjoyable. It's been fraught with all sorts of things, but at the end of the day, the one thing I can say is we're at the point now where we want to continue doing what we're doing and showing you guys what we can do with this is really just the first part of what we're doing.
I was going to say, having got to this point of like, because we always recommend to third parties to try a project that's of a smaller size than maybe you might want to, and because it lets you kick the tires on all the different parts and right through to the release process. Because as I'm sure that you've been finding, actually getting it from I think it's finished to it's ready to release is a journey in itself, and so being able to sort of experience that whole process. Someone was just asking about planes, by the way, and there they are, lots of planes. It's interesting, and it's from now on. But I'm really excited. So this is a great route. The team have really stretched their legs on a lot of different things. But actually, what I'm really excited to see is where you go from here, because now you've built up all these skills, you've got all this experience. This is where magic happens.
That's kind of how it feels to me at the moment. It's like, get this over the line, get this done, get this out, get people to see what we can do, get people to see the effort and the detail we kind of go to in things. I'm not going to sit here and say this is going to be the best route in the world and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. No, but what I want to say about this route is the reason it ended up the way it is because at first we bit off more than we could chew. At second time, we sort of realised that we had to scale it back, and then we had to scale it back again. But every single time we've done that has not been to the detriment of the route. It's been to the detriment of sort of our ambition. But actually what's happened is that our ambition has been completely pushed forward every time we've done something that's turned out really nice. So what we've ended up with is how to do massive scenery. So city scenery. We now know city scenery. We can now do out the way weird things like airport scenery. We can now do branch line scenery. We can now do OHLE. We can now do track how we want to do it. We can now do cycling how we want to do it. So all of this has been a learning curve for the guys that were working with us at the time, and we've been able to build up our own documentation, build up our own training platform to bring new people into the sim, to help us and help the community have a better experience at TSW. And that's realistically what we always wanted. So that for me has been the big thing. I sort of watched this project, overwatched it. I was not massively involved in every little detail of it. A massive shout out to all the guys that did. Hayden, Kieran, Danny, all those guys are the guys you need to be praising. It's not me. This was not my route. It was not my skills. I don't have any skills in this sort of thing. I have skills in sitting on YouTube and chatting a load of rubbish. But what those guys have shown is possible in TSW has excited me massively.
Yeah, I think when you get a lot of these things, when you get under the hood of them, and you can start to see what's actually going on, and it is quite interesting. So it's, knowing that your team's skill with locos, which obviously hasn't been a skill that's been able to be stretched in this one. I'm definitely keen to, but I'm rubbing my hands here thinking, the ATS crew making a TSW loco, that's going to be something special.
So I don't know how much I can say on that, but what I can say is it's been something that's been going on in the background for nearly as well. The whole sort of, I don't mean that they've been actively working on it, but I mean the preparation for working on locos and the building the skill set to do that has been going on as long as it has.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's one of those. You know that I am more. Pete is more the route guy. I am more the train guy, and that's actually worked out quite well in TSW, to be honest.
No, it's very good. Very, very good.
Sorry about that chat, about the language there. Just a little accident. These things happen. We'll keep streaming and it'll good. So.
Sorry, it was my bad. I do massively apologise.
No, don't worry. These things happen.
See, I told you I was nervous, didn't I?
It's all good. It's all good.
Where
You're
am I
doing
going?
good.
Oh, I'm going to the airport. Right. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, down to the airport.
Nice. Oh dear.
Yeah, and it is very warm tonight. We are roasting to bring you some awesome an awesome stream as well. So.
This Matt is cooking the same as me because we're both in buildings that weren't geared up to do what we're doing.
Brilliant.
I've got my two gaming
right.
PCs on, so they're cooking the room something crazy.
You've got two PCs.
Well, I use 2 PC streaming setup.
Good man. I'm yet to delve into that.
Yeah. So one of the things, obviously we've shown all the bits of the sort of timetable, but I'm sure we'll get questions sort of like, what are the collectibles? One of the things that someone will ask about collectibles. So
there are 2 collectibles across the route. There is the Manchester Bee, which is like a tiny little bee that you can find as well. Again, this is definitely more DTG sort of. This is one of the things we learned from doing TSW, something we never have to do in anything else we've done. So we've got a Manchester Bee, and then also there is a model of the T68 tram that is a collectible as well.
Oh, cool!
Wow.
The bee is actually the mascot for Manchester, isn't it?
Scott, and then we thought, well, one of our developers, Nick, who's done a lot of the custom buildings in this, also was you guys, if you're from TS Classic, might know him as Penno and Pacer. He did work for JT and also other people, and had his own route, and he created the T68 tram for his Manchester route, and we've now got that in the TSW route as a little collectible, which is really really nice.
Wow. Brilliant.
So yeah, those are 2 collectibles. There's also newspapers as well.
Newspapers, yeah, brilliant.
It's quite hard for us to sort of. It was one of those things that was really different to what we were used to doing, and the whole see that A350.
Oh wow! There you go. Look at that. Look at that. That is a proper fly past. Look at that. Brilliant.
Big shout out to our licensing team sorting out to deal with the arrangement with Airbus to let us put their planes in the game.
They were brilliant.
Oh yes, it's first license. Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of the things that was quite difficult for us because, of course, we were used to TSC sort of build stuff. So things like collectibles and walking around was me even putting my own sort of like prejudices aside, trying to work out exactly what the player base was like, what the community would like and see, and the guys that we worked with on those did a really good job. And I think the Manchester Bee really fits like the whole Manchester theme, and also the T68 tram being a classic tram that everybody knows from Manchester is really cool.
Yeah.
It was a nice little touch from the guys that work on gameplay, so thank you very much to those as well.
Oh, that's a question. Are the planes a generic livery or are they branded? Good question.
All the planes certainly that we've got are Airbus branded. So I don't know whether you've got different ones.
They are all Airbus branded at the minute. Is all I can say on that.
Yeah.
They're Airbus branded at the minute.
Oh, there's a 153 waiting in the platform there, isn't it? I think. There you go.
And honestly, I think that's a great thing. Again, I'm going to hark back. I'm going to do a lot of harking back to TSC. I do apologise. But harking back to the TSC days where we had like London to Brighton, where you had like a weird A310 looking thing. I'm sure you remember it, Matt.
Yes.
And now playing in TSW and seeing an A350, it doesn't matter what livery it's in, but the thing's the right shape is quite nice.
Yeah, the nacelles are in the right places, and I mean, for a while that was the plane. We used that same plane in TSW. It made me cry just a little bit every time I saw it. No, now we're able to get. I think we've got something like 4 or 5 of the Airbus fleet agreed to be used in the game now. So Airbus are a really good partner. Actually, that was the first one we did of theirs was the Beluga, which went on rapid transit.
I think there's the A320 and A350 in this. I'm not going to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it is. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I heard that's what it was on this. I've not seen the A320 yet.
Yeah. That's another lovely looking station.
We'll have a look around.
Nice tram link. You try and find another plane.
So airport and around airport is Nick and Andre. Both those guys did a sterling job on this.
Here we go. Now we're going to have a look at the aircraft. Here we go.
I think it's always quite important to mix AvGeek with Train Geek. I think it always works out well.
Yes.
Mass transport, isn't it? It's all same sort, a lot of the same sort of thing. Ooh, got wheels down.
So with Pete being a massive AvGeek as well, the glide slope is correct, if I remember rightly.
Turn that nonsense off. Let's just have a quick wander around the station.
Concourse, yeah.
Skywalk, that's a nice little place to go as well.
Look at
I was
that.
having a look here earlier on. Look at this shady thing with the old command line under the desk.
Dovetail hacking
Bit
sim.
old dodgy there. Command line under the desk, not hacking Wi-Fi at all. Right, let's have a look around the old airport. This is looking great. I was having a look at this earlier on. It's really nice.
Look at that.
See, for me, it's just in my own head of doing stuff and that. I'm just like, I don't know if I'd use this. And then I found myself on the stream the last time walking around it going, oh, I really like this. Oh, that's actually really nice. Oh, I'll walk down this bit. Oh, I'm going to have a look down here. So yeah, there are PIS boards, CIS boards there as well. And all the way through the route of the CIS boards.
I think for me about the first person and being able to walk around the stations is it makes the game feel more than just a driving game. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being just a driving game, but the world feels like it exists for more than just the trains and the two rails that you're sitting on, because you can go and explore and look around, and you've got the collectibles. Sort of for those that want to look at the collectibles, they can. They've got that as an extra motivation to walk around. But it just, for me, sometimes just like looking around, and it just adds that extra dimension beyond simply driving, and makes the world feel a little more like there's a bit more to it.
And you know, look, with me and you have had this conversation a million times about walking around and stuff, and that's I think why with this route we wanted to kind of get the depot stuff in, especially Hayden being the lead developer on this. As a driver himself, a lot of his work is done at depots. So looking at doing train walkarounds, looking at doing your walk around before you take the train to service, doing all that sort of thing was a big thing that we wanted to get in.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, we'd have liked to have done a lot more than we have. But as our first foundation in TSW, I'm happy where we're at. But I do want to explore the whole being able to walk around the train, being able to interact with the things around the train a lot more in our stock as well.
Yeah, no, likewise. There's always, I think there's definitely more that can be done in that area in general. So, folks, when you're playing this or anything else, include that in the sorts of things that you sort of say, what do you want to see more of? What do you find that's there that you're not using? And, this is how developers, us, Alan, other developers can kind of make sure we're putting our hours, days, months of effort into the things, into the features that, you all want to see.
Yeah,
Where am I next? Sorry, Alan, I keep interrupting you.
I'm sorry. Just the really horrible thing is, I'm used to talking so much, and then having somebody else doing it as well and not driving. Don't worry, I'm used to it. Don't worry.
You got three of us here. Because
all three of us all the time. It's like that. You're going to feel the need to fill the space when you don't need to fill the space. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. What am I doing now, Jamie? Is it 153 next, wasn't it?
153, 1W12, Milford to Manchester.
So I've said a few times the question about going to crew. Are you guys all right if I answer that question?
Fire away.
So the reason we haven't gone to crew, this is the reason why I haven't gone to crew. So when we initially started working TSW3, we had a route that was much bigger than even this is, and we realised that it was while we were learning the tools, it was we were on a hide to nothing. Basically, there was no reason to try and bite off way more than we can chew. We did bite off way more than we could chew. And the reason that we picked Manchester Airport Commuter especially was that, like I said earlier, it had a big city, it had an airport, which is like something different. So that could, in theory, that could be a docks, that could be a massive freight yard, that could be like something else that's not necessarily usually something that's on a railway route. And then we had rural scenery, and then we had a lot of stations, which is always the big thing in any sort of development in train sim. I'm sure you guys would agree that stations are a big part of how routes are designed and what routes you pick.
Totally agree.
What this route gave us was a really good mix of lots of stations, so we could practice how to make stations to get them right. It gave us an airport, it gave us something extra that wasn't something that was just generally there. It gave us a massive city as Manchester, which meant we could get that sort of right and hone our skills on how we do big city scenery. So that's how we end up with it. Did we cut off crew? It's not as simple as that. We would have loved to have been able to do crew, but crew in itself is a massive undertaking. Not only track-wise, signalling-wise, station-wise, yard-wise, heritage centre-wise, hospital-wise. So if we went to crew, would we then include everything? So what would end up happening is we would have never got to a position where the route was finished, because we would have always been having to add that little bit more, or we'd have to add that bit of that depot, we've had to have done that, or we would have had to give you a really poor representation of that. And for us learning our trade at the time, it was if Alderley Edge gives us and what's the W one? The route's gone out my head now.
Yeah, for what,
what's the W station that we actually end at that's completely gone out of my head?
Wilmslow. Oh no, on this one,
Wilmslow. It's Wilmslow, you're right. So Wilmslow gives us fast services, freight services, all of that. So, and you also have the turnarounds at Wilmslow and Alderley Edge. So the 323, Alderley Edge, turnaround times, all of that. It worked as a small commuter network.
Yeah, you've got your turnbacks down here so that you can turn trains back again as well. It's very good. It's a nice little self-contained route. One of the things that's nice about it, it's kind of a mini network feel to it, because you've got two paths and the airport on the end here. So this route has 3 endpoints and 2 different ways of doing it, which is, quite substantial actually in terms of gameplay. There's a lot of reuse and a lot of replayability here.
Short gameplay, which is something that I like. If you know our TSC stuff, we tend to long gameplay, but the shortness of how I feel with TSW is I quite like the network idea of TSW. I quite like the idea of getting to a terminus station, turning around and driving the same service back, which isn't something that was readily available in TSC. You'd need another scenario to do the return journey, So what it basically gave us was a great learning curve, an absolutely fantastic learning curve, covered all the bases, and it gave us a good playability style. It might not be the longest route, it might not be whatever, but it gave us everything we kind of needed to learn our skill, give you guys what we wanted, and show what we're going to do. And that's kind of why we did it. The whole idea of going to crew was a great idea, but the extra sort of detail that would have been needed in crew, and not even like the extra work, but the extra detail that was needed in crew, and the extra skill set that would have been needed to do crew justice. Not just, we could have put it in, but it wouldn't have been very good. If to do it justice was just not quite there at the time we were doing this. And please do remember, we've been developing this now for 18 months, I think. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of things have changed in the world of TSW that weren't there when we started. So we picked this route to do exactly what we needed. I think it's done the right job.
Oh yeah, no, I think the team, one of the other things I know the team has been on a journey with, as a weave, and I think everybody is on this journey, is optimization as well. And that's another harsh learning for doing the longer routes, is particularly with doing this route. I mean, if you think back at some of the things that the team have learned doing this route, how that could have gone had it gone all the way to crew, and the implications of having to work through that, I think could have been, some of the times that we've done exactly the same thing where we've realised something is wrong and had to go back and change a bunch of stuff and thought, oh my word, thank heavens we didn't do this, why this, that or the other. the practicality. There's one thing to make a route; it's another thing to make a route run at a good frame rate, the hitching and all that stuff, and actually make it, because that's where it becomes fun. Yeah, if it's not running very well, then it's kind of not a good experience. Whereas this route runs really well. And the team I know the team have spent your team have spent a lot of time going and optimizing and improving and using our auto test outputs to figure out how things could be better. And that's one of the things I've really enjoyed watching, actually, is the team sort of picking up that and learning there, because that's difficult. That's pro level stuff.
That's 2 times through QA, and you've got to remember, you guys are making these routes in the original test without that auto test tool, and then us having being able to see the results of those auto test tool did give us a horrendous amount of feedback that we need to go and change. And being able to have those tools given to us and the feedback that we had from DTG, I'm not going to lie, was brilliant. Without your guys supporting this, we would not be where we're at.
The tools definitely have helped a lot. Full credit to the engineering team and Dan in particular, who did a lot of work on the analysis tools. Even we're still figuring out, what bits, because it gives us, you've seen in the output, Alan, it's just pages and pages of data that it gives you, graphs and all tables and all sorts of things, and it's trying to work out what's actually important here, which of these numbers is bad. So I know even over the course of looking at working with your team on this one, we've gained sort of like, that seems to be impacting this. We should probably not do that. So this has been a really good exercise, I think, on all fronts. We've all learned something.
That's really kind of you to say, Matt. I do really appreciate that. I think the thing that we sort of had was we sort of came into this with sort of the idea it'd be a bit like TSC, and there isn't. I think the one thing I can say, like honestly, on stream is there is nothing. It isn't like you can't just jump from TSC to TSW. It's not like there's a big manual sitting there that you can read through and this is how you do that, or this is how you place this, or this is what you do that. But every time we've run into a problem, DCG have been right beside us going, here's that, let's do this, let's fix that, we didn't, here's this. So you're not sort of coming into this with the idea of like, here's a big manual and you can do this. But actually, when you start doing it, the support we've had throughout has been second to none, and even up to today, it's been really, really good.
What? Nothing happened. What? No, nothing nearly happened there.
It was getting close.
Listen, I nearly said my very famous line that I say on stream, and I couldn't because I'd have got us all in trouble. Well done. Well done. Hear that, mate? I'll hear that.
I must admit, I do like the 153. It's actually a very drivable unit, which makes it all the more fun to drive.
To the stream I did the other week, and I was very impressed. The modelling is lovely on it. It does look exactly how it should. I was very, very impressed.
Well, that's one of the reasons why it shows.
We were able to get out to do reference photography for the 153, and we worked with ScotRail actually to do audio capture for the 153, and it's been one of those things where it's had a lot of work trying to get the 153 in the right place. One of our audio engineers went up and rode the Highland line, I think up in north of Scotland, where the 153 still runs. So he was up there riding it, capturing audio. This was quite a tricky one to get everything we needed for, but big shout out to the team. They nobody said no, everyone said where, how, and when.
It shows, mate. It does show. I thoroughly enjoyed driving the other day. Again, Hayden, who is the lead developer on this route, he signed 153s on the Wherries, and he was very, very impressed with 153.
Yeah.
So.
So it's something I wanted to show, because I think when we did Cardiff, it wasn't really this. You can actually get it up to speed and have a good speedy run with it, which on Cardiff is more starting, stopping, isn't it? A bit more on Cardiff.
Yeah, Cardiff is more of a bus route.
Yeah. So I thought it would be quite fun to do something like this, because I mean, from even on the Wherry perspective, when they used to run on the Wherries, you did get high speed runs with them sometimes because they did used to do non-stops.
Yeah.
I appreciate the most out of this. All this weathering, and this just looks so used.
Glad you like it. Yeah,
I love that. It's just like I mean, even some of our stuff sometimes is guilty of being a bit too fresh out the factory.
I think some things in this are the same, mate. But I know what you mean. I know.
Yeah. So when I see weathering, I want to make sure I call it out, because I do appreciate railways looking like they're real.
They're working, like they're actually working. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. No, I like that.
If
I remember right, because this is Stockport, isn't it? Is it? Oh no, it's up here. Because I think it's up here, isn't it? That I was reading that, because I was trying to work out where the 323s on the Gloss, when we did the Glossop line, where do the 323s park up? And originally I'd assumed it was in here, but that's actually a manufacturing, that's a Siemens facility, if I remember rightly. And I think they actually come down to here, don't they? If I remember rightly, or they come all the way down to here.
No, there's Stockport as well, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, if you want to do the sort of the other hub, the sort of the morning and the evening runs from the Glossop line, you can do those in here now. And there are route hop points in here as well, so if you're on Glossop, you can then switch over to using this route.
There are, yeah. I don't know. It's one of the questions you guys we spoke about. One of the questions you said for the QA was whether the timetables match up. The honest answer to that is because of the way this route was developed, it was pretty much done in isolation. So I don't know how much the timetables line up to Glossop. I'm not sure. And that was the one question I didn't have the answer to, and I could say I'm not sure. The route hop into Glossop, I think, gives Glossop a massive new lease of life as well.
Yeah, I must admit, I quite enjoy Glossop, because I like these little shorter routes. I don't mind a long route, but a lot of the time I just don't have the time for a longer route, so the shorter routes tend to be something I spend more time in. So, this route, this goes into my rotation of Mild Maid, this one, Glossop, Cathcart, just little condensed experiences. Oh, hello, Mr. Pendolino.
And we're going over a nice bridge here as well. Look at this.
Yeah, Stockport Viaduct. This is very pretty.
Yeah. Look at that.
And one of the guys actually Danny was one of the developers on this route. He is actually a bridge engineer. So this was meant to be completely right.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I suppose that's one of the great things as well, because you all work in the railway industry. You've all got different jobs within the railway industry. It all helps each other. It
makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. We've got guys in timetabling, we've got guys that are in control, we've got guys that are in maintenance. So there's a lot. But it's also the thing you've got to remember with these guys is they also had a passion for trains and train sim a lot of them before they got a job. So train sim has been a big push, especially GS Classic has been a big push for some of those guys who have their jobs in the railway. Something I want to see again. That's another thing I'd love to see through TSW, is that there are people that are growing up now with TSW that are going to get their jobs in the railway industry, just like those guys that grew up with TS Classic.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's there's a lot of people who are, sometimes you go to events and stuff, Matt, when we've done sort of events at other railways and things, at model railway exhibitions, and you get the youngsters all playing TSW. It's fantastic,
A wee bug to fix here, Alan. One of the we'll make a note of it and have a look. One of the things that certainly I remember, because I set UK Train Sim up just after the UK was first hit, and there's a number of people on there that it's when I look back on it, and some of the people that I know now as fully fledged adults that are well into their career, respected in the industry, I knew them as kids. It's
kind of
weird. It's kind of weird. It makes me feel very old, and that's not the good side of it. Also having watched them and become these really great people and going on that journey, because no journey is perfect. and of how they get to where they're going, the decisions that they've taken, how they were when, how they contributed to the community in various ways. And that doesn't mean making stuff. That might just mean saying they're enjoying stuff and having good conversations on the various forums. It's really, really thrilling and rewarding seeing people progress through, from a younger age through to their chosen careers.
I think you hit on a really good point there, Matt, about people giving out information. You will remember, especially when you started UKTS, a lot of us started out having a knowledge in the railways, but not knowing how a lot of things worked. And then having someone that can just say, oh, I just saw this sign, I don't know what it means. Oh, it's that. Oh, I don't understand how this signalling system works. How does that work? Oh, it's just like this.
Yeah.
So all of these people have helped so many other people over the years. It's unreal. Just even go back to, like I said to Jamie earlier, he got chauffeured, as I was told it was yesterday, from a destination to another destination by the lead developer of this route. It's kind of the intrinsic link into the real railways and the knowledge that comes from the real railways that makes how we do the simulation work better is always something I've wanted to absolutely nurture. And that's kind of, I think UKTS did that very well. I think people just being involved in any sort of community aspect of this has worked really, really well. Because there are lots of people out there that have got these skills, that have got this training, that people that just drive from A to B on TSW go, oh yeah, that's great. But they might not understand how something works, and to be able to go onto the DG forums or wherever they want to go and find out that actually, oh, that's slightly different, or I should have done that slightly differently. That's what I love.
There's things like, exactly that. There's a lot of stuff that goes on inside the development of a route. I remember quite frequently talk to Rob, our track player, one of our track players, sorry. And I remember having conversations with him in the past where I was looking at some kind of a track layout and thinking, why is this track not quite at the same height as that one? Rob, could you not just do a good job? And he would be like, well, funny you should say that. And then he'd give me this 2-hour lecture on the history of the railway and why these two tracks are at different heights. It's just like, oh wow, okay, I'm going to shut up from here on. You know about 10 times more than I do. It's the amount of research that goes in and all these little subtle details which the majority of people would never even notice, and the developers are paying attention to this stuff. It's really inspiring, actually.
You even picked on Rob there to say that too, but actually what I have to also say is the guys at DCG that we've worked with throughout this whole process, whether we've been talking about stock, whether we've been talking about routes or anything like that, have been incredibly bloody helpful. A big shout out to Steve and Ryan as well, who have Laura, and Laura's like the most, like, if I needed to employ someone to help me sort of do my character, and I'm married to a Laura, but I would marry the other Laura because that lady has got things to the point. And I can't, as much as I've always questioned how DG worked, as I've said lots of things, I have to turn around and say, actually, through the development of this, I have to literally take my hat off to DTG and go, do you know what? Actually, you guys have been really, really, I'm struggling not to swear, very helpful through the whole thing. And it's been a learning curve. Don't get me wrong. It's not always been easy. It's not always been nice. It's not always been perfect. But I will say that when we've needed the help and when we've needed that sort of backup and stuff, you guys have actually pulled it out and you've done it really nicely. So I do have to doff my hat to you all and say thank you very, very much. And a lot of those guys behind the scenes, Estelle with the licensing department and all of that, the legal stuff and all that, it has been incredibly professional, way more professional than I am. And you guys have all done a really nice job, and it is really appreciated from our end.
Look at that, really busy Manchester. Look at this. Varied variety of trains.
That was a nice arrival. I quite like that, coming in today like that. Very nice. No, I just want to echo that. I mean, I talked to Steve and Ryan, David and Laura a lot, and I know they work with I can't even say what the number is, but it's a ridiculous number of developers, and they do their best to provide technical insight, to provide process insight. There's the amount of support that they try and give quite tirelessly, because they're all big, deeply passionate train enthusiasts as well as TSW enthusiasts. So they try and give as much assistance as they can. So no, I know they will appreciate you saying that. Thank you, Alan.
Well, you can thank Adam as well, because Adam and Sky helped out a lot from this as well. I know he's one a colleague you worked with a lot back in the day, but Adam's also helped out a lot with this.
No, Adam's a wizard. Yeah.
Yeah. Skyhook actually do have a place in this as well. Skyhook did help us out with a lot of the a section of the scenery in this when we were really struggling. So Skyhook as well, a massive shout out to Adam and Skyhook Games for helping us out with this as well.
Awesome. Well, quick interlude. What's next?
Next is 0K95 Class 66 in the DV livery.
I've not done a freight yet. This is the first time I've seen a freight.
0K95.
95, that's the one.
Okay, let's do it. A shed, what's not to like? It's a shed.
Harry will be very, very happy. So that's all that matters. So, Harry will be happy with Class 66 fix. So,
I think you said to Jamie, she's sort of this is sort of relatively local to her, didn't you?
What's that? Yes. Yeah, where she grew up. Yes, I think it was.
Cool. I hope she enjoys it as well, mate.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the 66 is actually my one the thing that I drive in TSW the most.
Really interesting. Yeah.
With the many versions of it, I don't know what is my favourite version of it yet. I've not quite found that out, but I do drive the 66 an awful lot in TSW.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourites. It was the sort of logo that came out with. Was it GW this came out with, Matt?
Yeah, originally, yeah. One of the. It was exactly. GWE.
It was one of the real things that did something that TSC didn't. It was one of those things that really, even though it had its own faults, don't get me wrong, but it was one of those things that really sort of got me. And I was like, oh, geez, I can touch this, I can fiddle with that, I can press this, I can do that. Yeah. And yeah, it is still 66 is one of the things I still drive the most this day on TSW.
I'm not sure if Harry's watching. I wouldn't be surprised if she is. He always watches the streams as well sometimes. But
Rob Jones has asked if 66 up to par with the cargo line version of this recently improved. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I'd have to check with Hayden what version of the 66 this is. I don't know. I thought this was quite good
service as well, because we've actually done it. So we've gone from one end of the route to the other, then back to the other end. So we're actually doing it in different directions. So that's why I chose these sort of services, because I was looking at either end, starting at one end. You come into Manchester, then you leave Manchester going the other way. So we've got some nice. Actually, Luke has asked a very interesting question. Obviously, because now Great British Rail is fast becoming, or will soon fast becoming a thing.
Yeah, very involved in. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. What for the question for Matt? What sort of will this affect licensing, or could it help us in licensing?
I guess we'll find out in the fullness of time. But generally speaking, we have a really good relationship with DFT, Department of Transport, and the ones that go back, that fall back, like Southeastern did, LNER did, all those ones. They become, again, we benefit from having a really strong relationship with DFT in that respect. So I am hoping it will mean really good things, but the time will tell on this, because you can never tell how quite things are going to go. And I'm not looking at West Coast Main Line and certain license on there at all. But we'll see how things go. It'll probably be 2 to 3 years before everything's fully washed out, and we'll see what the end results are. But there'll be stuff happening in the intervening time as I think is it Alan, am I right? Am I up to date? It's over the next 2 to 3 years that gradually everything, I think, starts pulling over, isn't it?
You've just given an absolutely perfect answer. I think that GBR will make some things easier and some things more difficult. I don't think that there's one easy answer to that, and I think you answered it perfectly, Matt.
Thank you.
That was very, very, very political, and I don't say that in a bad way. I say that even people that know what's going on within GBR probably wouldn't be able to give you the same answer. So I think Matt has given the same answer that even other people would give you that are involved in it. And I can say that I'd have said, you said it better than I could have done, put it that way.
It's one of those tricky ones. But you always have to be a bit careful with licensing because you don't want to presuppose anything, but I'm hopeful.
I think licensing is one of the things I could talk about because working at TSC, we don't tend to deal with licensing as much as we do in TSW, and in TSW, the licensing stuff that we've had with Northern has actually been really, really good. There's no sort of like there's nothing I would complain about, I suppose, in licensing. It's what I can say is DCG are, I think, doing their best at getting licensing how that it should be. Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. There's a lot of things that come into licensing that's incredibly tricky. The Matt's covered this a million times on streams and videos a million times over, but it's a tricky bastion of something that everybody would like to get right, and one day it will be right. I hope.
I was just seeing the chat were reminding you there, Matt.
What?
Oh, now it's gone green.
I'm not even looking at I can see the stream, but I'm not even focused on the driving. It's really weird.
Yeah,
The big brake demand got me, so I'm gonna have to wait 2 minutes.
So that's nice.
But yeah, and also it does feel a busy route. I must admit, seeing like the other traffic as well, it does. You know, you're seeing in the platforms and things. It does seem a busy timetable. I mean, it was 905 services on the timetable compared with the two, wasn't it? So
Across the two timetables, yeah.
Across the two timetables, which is quite a good amount, you know.
I think one of the things that I always take away from TSW is in the early days there's a lot of things that weren't there and everything like that, and it's hence why we did the 2018 timetable. Basically, made it so that we could put services in that people already have, that people have already bought and people have already purchased and they've already got them in their library. And if we did a 2021 timetable or 2022 timetable or 2023 timetable, we'd be asked for stock that wasn't there. Yeah. So there's a lot out there for you. And I think one of the questions you had on the Q&A there, Jamie, was what do we envisage as updates? I would envisage updates for the timetable. If we get more stock, I would love to see an improved timetable. I'd love to see a more modern timetable if we've got the right stock, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just see. I don't know. Yeah, because there was a question about if you wanted to, you know, if you're planning to keep this updated, you know, or obviously. You know, you. I'm sure you've got plans on what you want to move on to after this as well, and and sort of post-release, and you know, is it something that you think you can, you know, sort of like if you think there's something you can improve, you'll improve this, or maybe put it towards another route, or so on and so forth. If you do any more, you know.
So that question sort of it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Is it like do we now we've got the newer skills, now we've got the skills there, do we do a new route and then do we leave this alone? No, that's not how we want to do this. Does this mean that we will focus our whole attention on updating this route for the next 3 years? No, of course we won't. But what we will do is when we get the opportunity or new stock becomes available, do we want to update this route to incorporate that in the timetable? Of course we will. Would we rather, if we got the right stock, would we make a 2023 timetable? Of course we would. How that works at the moment, this is our first route, I don't know. But we would love to keep it. Yeah, we're not gonna shy away from updating the route. That's not something we want to do. And I think there's if new features come out, then we'll add those. If new stock comes out, then we'll add that. Yes, that will be it. The playability of this route is short segment driving, yes, but will we keep updated? Yeah, of course. Yeah, none of our projects that even we've had in TSC have ever been left for dead. We won't want to leave this route sitting in the dust, even though it was our trial route, our first starter route. No, of course, this is our first baby. This is our oldest. This will be our oldest. We want to keep this up to date and good. Yeah, of course, but it will need things like new stock or new features or anything like that to be introduced before we would go and do that. I wouldn't necessarily put a lot of time and effort into this if it was just for one or two little things. But if there's a new stock, new features, yeah, of course, 100% would update it.
Brilliant. What was the other one? Okay, it said has approach control signaling been implemented throughout the route?
Yes, as it should be. Yeah. I think the query that was the question that was taken from on the DG forums, there was somebody very helpfully explained the airport sort of slowdown stuff before. I'm not the expert on this, but it's to do with speeds and everything that. But yes, approach control is implemented where it should be.
Yeah,
it's not like how you should see it because there's junction changes and speed limit changes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's as real life as far as I'm aware. And if there's anything that comes out that's not, then we will look to update that, of course.
Brilliant. Look at this. Oh, it's only a short set. Look at that. Oh, interesting.
So this is the nice bit. It is just a short set. It's an empty. It's running back to where it needs to go to be reloaded, and you're part of that. So part of one of the big things, I've said this a million times already tonight, but one of the things we want to implement in our route and our routes and timetables and things like that is those runs that aren't necessarily the cream of the crop. They're not the golden arrow services. They're not your Flying Scotsman. They are your day-to-day driver jobs, and that's what we've focused a lot of our services on. Is you're doing things that a driver would do, even though they might not be the most exciting or greatest thing in the world. They are the things that drivers do day to day.
Brilliant. No, and it's good because it's nice because you get a full array of what a driver would do. You know, it's not just as you say, the fast express runs or the normal sort of fully heavy loaded freight. You know, it's you've got this nice mix array of like shunt manoeuvres and things like that. You know,
let's just try to get the day-to-day life of a driver actually in there, not necessarily, like I said, the pretty services. It is just the services are in the services that are there. They're not. Yeah. They're not. You just do that because it's got wagons on it. Don't do that because it's loaded. It's just what's there in real life. And sometimes drivers will drive a really tedious service where they've got to go here, do this, do that, pull this out. But that's the sort of tedium I like. That's what a real driver does.
Yeah. There was one other question. Does the 323 for this have the suspension like Glossop does?
Yes, suspension's done with the 323 as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
It's got the TSW5 features in it, yeah. I think for us, we want to really emulate more the sim side than the game side. And I know that's not necessarily how everybody plays TSW, but I want to be able to offer a happy medium of both.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, we've got some developers like TSG lean heavily into sim, and some of the others lean, less so into the sim. There's a place for everyone to enjoy it. At the end of the day, as if you're enjoying what you're doing it right.
Well, that's what I took from you, Matt. To be honest, you told me this years ago. You were like, sometimes my view on things was very much on the sim side, and you were like, well, hang on, have you forgotten about the people that just want to have a bit of fun and have a laugh and walk down the route or drive down the route with a silly stock on it? Yeah, that's cool. As much as that might not be my thing, I have to realise that there's other people out there. And I hope we've got a happy mix of that, to be honest with you. I hope we've got a happy mix of that.
Brilliant.
Good. Yeah, it's a good thing again for folks to provide feedback on.
It'd be interesting. I think that's the main thing about this route for us is this is all about the feedback. This is all about the sales. This is all about what the feedback is to the community. What we do next comes from this route. And I can't stress that enough. I cannot stress this enough. That this is our first foray into TSW, and if we get the feedback we need and we get the feedback we can do something with, then we can do whatever we want with it. That's the joy of it, I suppose. But at the same time, it's going to be based on what happens next. And at the moment, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I was going to say is neutral sections in here as well. I've seen some of the neutral section signs. Have you implemented that as well?
Neutral sections are in. If the stock is neutral section compatible in TSW, the neutral sections work. Yes, of course.
Fantastic. We do the other bit of a triangle now, so...
One of those, quite a nice little feature, especially if you're driving somewhere tap changer or whatever, you really need to know what you're doing. But even something like, I after the 1990s thyristor control trains, you didn't realistically need to throttle back.
Yeah.
Well, all drivers will still throttle back for a neutral section. So it's something that I hope the community take in and learn, that a real driver would throttle into pull it into like notch 0 to go through a neutral section, then take power again.
Yeah. I'll go through some of the key details, because I know that there was some people asking about price. So it was £24.99, €29.99, $29.99, and you've got a 20% discount on Steam only for owners of Glossop, and that's on for 2 weeks. So if you've got Steam and you've got Glossop, definitely get hold of this, because it's going to be great. And also, I'll go through some of the other details. So it's 27 miles long. You basically get, you get a full network. So you get sort of 2 routes. You get a little branch, so the Manchester Airport branch. You get the 2 sections either side. 17 stations. You get the 323 EMU in northern livery. You get 5 scenarios with 2 timetables. And obviously we went through the collectibles. But there's also a lot of timetable layers, so we went through at the start as well. It's looking great. So I must admit, I'm enjoying watching this, because I don't think I've been into Piccadilly once. And that was, I haven't actually been to that sort of area before, so it's all sort of a learning curve for me as well.
I think I've just seen a comment there from Hannah from YouTube, who's asking whether 323 has neutral sections. I'm pretty sure the 323 does have neutral section functionality now. I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it does. It was pointed out on when I did the stream, so I hope it does, basically.
I must admit, I can't remember. We built the 323 prior to us doing our own neutral sections implementation, so it may not.
I think Kieran has put the neutral section thing in.
Oh, right, okay, cool.
I think it has been put in, and Kieran, one of the guys that's working, he was probably on stock, he did that, so I'm pretty sure neutral sections are in. But don't quote me on that, I'm pretty sure they're in. I hope they're in. Another thing there is about like the 185 and the 105. Yeah, we would have loved to have done 105s and 185s, but at the time we had to basically prioritise what skills we learned, and the skills we learned were the route building, not necessarily the stock stuff. That doesn't mean we weren't doing it in the background. We were doing the stock stuff in the background, but the predominant team that were working on this route were route building skill guys. Asset creation, that sort of thing. Creating assets for Unreal Engine 4 is very different to creating assets on a DirectX 9 TSC stuff. So a lot of our guys were more based on the DirectX, on the older TSC, not TSW. So yes, there's been a lot of that. Sorry, I'm speaking over you guys. I should apologise. Go.
That's all right. There we go. I've just done a nice junction change there, so then it's looking quite good. Someone, Joshua, has asked, when it comes to timetable creation, Matt has given some insight previously on how timetables are created. Is it a similar process for third-party devs like yourself? Do you, with the timetables, as you said, you use a 2018 timetable. So was that one that you had to hand? Was that one you had to get hold of to do this, or was it?
That's the question I was literally answering when I told myself to shut up there.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I was going to ask you that anyway, so it's fine.
So one of those it's a really big one. So for us, sort of working out scenarios, and say we created a route, in TSC, Scenarios would be one of the last things we do. With TSW, it's one of the first things we look into. 100%. That's one of the biggest changes from TSW to TS Classic, is because they have timetable mode. Is we have to look into where things can be, how things can be layered in, where are we going to look at this, where are we going to look at that. So the whole timetable process actually comes in a much earlier stage of development than it does in TSC. 100%. You're probably talking like before you even make something, you need to look at going, where's this going to be able to be used? Where's it going to be able to layer in? How's it going to be looked at? What's it going to be able to do with? So that is 100% probably one of the biggest changes from TSC to TSW is working out the timetable first. And creating the timetable is not necessarily an easy task. Because you have to do this whole timetable around something that you have created. And with TSC, you sort of create the stock, and then you sort of create the timetable. You don't create a timetable, you create some scenarios that go out with it, and then the community make a lot of the difference. With TSW, you have to know where you're doing something. You have to know what you're doing. It's a big change. I don't know if you found that, Matt, going from TSC to TSW as well.
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, and it's the biggest. It's the biggest reason the people that I speak to that were like, why they play TSW versus playing TSC. For them, it's kind of timetable is kind of the big draw for them. But from a developer perspective, it changes everything, because you can't really finalize the track work until you've really thought hard about the plan. Because let's say, for example, you're putting all these you're putting a bunch of services in. Okay, the train goes from A to B, and they go from B to A. That's great. What did it do between going there? Did it go out to a yard somewhere and come back? Well, okay, we now got to model that yard, or maybe we don't, but let's have that discussion. Or they go via, some of the trains go via this siding and this loop that we haven't thought about we need to put in. And so you have to go through this process of like, what trains are going to be included? How are they going to move? What yards and depots, what facilities do you want to think about to bring that stuff in? Really until you've kind of got a reasonable picture of sort of what the train service is. Let's not call it gameplay, let's call it the movements of trains on the route, because every single inch that a train moves has to be accounted for. It can't magically go from point A to point B suddenly, which means you then have to think about that stuff. And only then really can you start finalising what the track plan is going to be. So it does change it quite a lot, making scenarios. And I've made lots of activities in MSTS. I've made tons of scenarios in TSC. And you can give a bit of magic, because the train starts in the middle of the route and then you go past it, and then it doesn't matter what happens after you've gone past it. Whereas in timetable mode, everything has to live for its entirety of the time that it can throughout a 24-hour period.
Is I would say it's probably the biggest change from TSC to TSW, is that you can't, like Matt said there, you can't even plan a route. You can't even finalise a route. You can plan a route. You can't finalise a route until you know what everything's doing. That has been a massive change for us. A very, very big change for us. Have we nailed it in this? I don't know. Let's wait and see. But it's something that Hayden is very, very keen on as well. And Kira, of course, did the Sunday timetable. There's lots of guys out there that are focusing on how this sort of thing works and how it's implemented. And it does really affect everything.
Yeah.
It affects before you even pick a route, you need to know what you're doing, where you're going, and what you want to get. And that, I suppose, to me, is for me, it's the biggest change in TSW, because I have to think about it as not only a publisher, but as a developer myself. But you have to plan for that sort of thing that you wouldn't have planned for before.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you're going from making 10 scenarios in a pack to 600 services.
And you really do. But the other joy of that is that all those other 600 scenarios, all those 600 scenarios are already done for you. So all of those 600 services can go from there to there. And there is an ease with the scenario creation and the timetabling tool that once you've got things, I mean, this was the holy grail of TSC, wasn't it? Get a timetable thing where you could just pick the player train that something happens to, or pick the player train that something that has the issue. and everything else works all around you. Like in TSC, you'd have to plan all the AI, then you plan the driver train, then you go da-da-da. In TSW, you have a timetable. You can then pick where something goes wrong for a scenario, where something goes right for this. But yeah, it does. It really impacts even the start of the thought process of making something.
Yeah, it affects everything that you do. I mean, the other element that changes things is the fact that stations can be walked on and walk around. So you've got to think a lot more about the station now as well than you would have had to in TSC.
Well, you have to think about where you are now. You're at a depot. So before that driver got in that cab, he'd have had to walk around that train. He'd have to make sure all the isolation cocks were in the right place. He'd have had to do the walk around, make sure there's nothing out of place, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you're talking. There's so many more layers you can do. And I don't mean the word layers. That's not what I want to say, is it? There's more sort of things you have to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot more. You can kind of take the depth as far as you want to, can't you? It's very much a. You can take it as far as you want to, because you can write scenarios where you have to do that walk around and so forth. So it's particularly if you've got a train model with all of these, because the trains are they've got lots of stuff going on the outside with all these panels. Now we can't access those panels in the game, but maybe there's something that an advanced loco might do in the future, and then it's certainly something that TSW is theoretically capable of doing.
Driver does, doesn't it? Does a driver have to open the AC unit? No, he doesn't. But does the driver have to go around and make sure on the bogies all the brakes are off, all the isolation cocks are off? Yeah, of course. So having those sorts of things in game, this is our first foray into it. Like I've said a million times already, this is what we want to get in. Like, you do your driver walk around. One of my things that I started off really how I got to know the railways more and more was actually buying British Rail manuals, how trains worked, and that was my key in my interest in my enthusiasm in railways. It wasn't about whether it had a number or a livery. Mine was about how this worked. How do they make sure that all of this whole network of passengers, platforms, timetabling, infrastructure, mechanics all work together? And in TSW, we kind of have that avenue to explore. And I don't think it's been explored just quite yet. I mean, the TSG Germany expert loco as the 101 is wow. Like, wow, that thing is amazing.
It is.
But the idea of being able to stand this depot now and walk down and make sure that all the isolation cocks are off and make sure that everything's all done, that's the sort of thing we want to get into a little bit more into the future. And one of the things I'll say about ATS that we want to do in the future is we want to come from the driver's point of view. It's like Trains from Germany have done with the expert model, is we want to make sure that the community, whilst you can still enjoy getting from A to B and hitting the timetable and getting a gold or a platinum or whatever you need, you also can learn from what's been given in front of you. So this is how things work. So this is what a driver does. Like, a walk around of a class 90 is 12 minutes for one's sake. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like a steam crew. When we volunteer at North Norfolk, when you start and you're on shed, you're there at sort of 6 o'clock in the morning. You don't leave shed until 9:30, and between that time, you're building the fire, doing everything else. Obviously, that time has been shortened quite dramatically now with trains, but it's still the same. You still have to do all the safety checks. We still have to do brake tests. We still have to do. That's
how I see the future of Trains in World, is there has to be a point in this that you, if you want to do this, you can, and if you want to go through and do all that detail, you can. But there's also a really easy option: you just jump in the cab and drive. And that's what I think Train Sim World does a lot better than TS Classic, is it gives you the opportunity just to jump in and go, but it also offers up the opportunity for developers to put those sort of things in. And I'd love to see that sort of thing. Like, imagine if you did a scenario that on a steam loco that, okay, it's 6:30, 7:30 at night, and you're firing the engine, and then the next thing then the next scenario is the engine's warmed up, so you've skipped that 4 hours.
Yeah,
and then you're there, and I think that is what TSW can offer that no other sim can actually offer.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to do these things, and I don't want them to be something you have to do. They can be things you can do, and what you choose is your path. And I think TSW does offer that better than TS Classic. And I hate to say it in that sort of way, but you have the ability to really choose how you play the game, how you involve yourself into the simulation, how you involve yourself into the day-to-day work and everything. So if you want to learn how it works, here's an option to learn how it works. If you don't want an option to how it works, here's a quick and easy start to it.
Yeah. I think this is the first depot run we've done with the 390, isn't it, mate? I think on stream. I think this might be the first time.
No, we didn't have the depots, I think, on West Coast Main Line.
Yeah. It was nice like, having it come out of the shed there. It was really fun.
It's such a point of a driver. It's literally what drivers do when a lot of drivers do when they start the shift. If you're taking the train off depot,
some drivers do nothing but that. Obviously, they are depot shunters, aren't they? They'll just take a train, deliver it to a station, and then they'll go back into the shed, get the next one, and then they'll get some other train and take it back into the shed. I mean, a couple of the beta testers I'm speaking to, they'll have days where they drive and days where they do nothing but delivering trains in and out of where the shed is. So it's kind of, I always thought that was quite interesting. We'd actually tried to blend that into one of the TGV scenarios. We made it to where you were the on-shed driver, and so literally you're bringing trains in and out of the yard 3 or 4 times, and there's some really interesting dynamics going on there because you have to reverse the train in, and so you have someone in the other cab counting you down as you're coming in and all sorts of things. So it's really interesting. It's a different change of pace. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it is going to give you the variety to try something new and different, which is what I think is really cool.
New and different is very cool, but I think the thing that I think is very cool is you're doing something a driver does. That is what drivers do. Yep. It's not always sweetness and light, and it doesn't paint drivers in this massive picture of they've got some luxury job. Like sometimes it is really like when you're doing those depots sort of runs, like you could think of them as boring, but they're not boring. They are what happens. They are literally the bread and butter of how the railways work.
Sometimes those things are actually, they can be, I don't want to necessarily use the word hazardous, but it's you're going slowly. You're generally in depot areas. Depot areas are naturally somewhere you've got to be extra cautious on because people can be walking around, and in reality, obviously. So it's kind of like there is a lot of challenge, and it's not got the maybe the thrill of blasting up and down a main line, but for me. I actually, driving the Pendolino, I love the Pendolino, but it's not my favourite train in the game, even though it's probably one of the best model trains in the game. Just because I like to drive the train, and for me, depot services would let me do that. Yeah, because you're speeding up, you're slowing down, you're watching that speed very carefully at slow speeds. You've got these signal aspects which are not always, they're rarely going to be green even. So there's a lot going on. So again, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I totally respect if you want to go blasting down the line at 125 miles an hour. It does have its appeal, but it's the services like this where. It's you're bringing the train out of the depot. You've got these changing speed limits. You've got to keep an eye on what's going on. There's a bit of changing backwards and forwards on tracks. The signals are not in my favour necessarily. This is you got to watch, and they're only short, but they're quite an intense short.
Yeah. It's actually really a good service this because you've just gone all the way across from the depot, and then you've now come into the middle roads in Manchester. So you've basically gone back on yourself, which is really interesting having these it's actually watching it come across and things like that and doing the snaking through all the track work is really
that's what I love. I love seeing that go and watching Matt drive this now. I've watched Matt drive for many years since he first started doing TSC, and it is, especially when you're on the spot and you're driving this on stream, these sort of scenarios are the worst thing you can have. Shunting scenarios are the worst thing you can have. But the thing that I love about this is the moment you're driving this. What's different to it driving the main line? You haven't got tilt. You're going around corners. You're doing that. You're seeing a different side to the 390 than you usually see. You're not leaning over. You're seeing the features that are put into that train itself. So you're actually exploring what's in the train. You're exploring that detail that the guys that created this have got into. You're not just having this blast down the West Coast Main Line and you're left, right, and leaning or whatever. You've just taken this out of the depot and it's been completely and utterly standard on top. This sort of thing is exactly what we wanted to get into Train Sim World, and you've just explained it very, very well, Matt.
Yeah,
but not necessarily. They might seem superfluous. They might seem useless. They might seem like not the bread and butter, but they are the things that people do, and they are the things that you notice the little quirks on. And when you're driving slowly, you see more of the route, you see more of the stations, you see more of everything that's around you.
You do, actually. I've been thinking that myself, actually, just as I've been coming in here. We've just driven on a very small proportion of, I mean, the route's not a massive route anyway, but we've just driven on a very small portion of it, and actually I've just been taking in a lot more as we've gone, actually. It's that was quite a pleasant little run, actually, and then of course you can flip ends and then take it on a high speed run. So that's fantastic.
There we go. Well, that's everything. That's everything I've got planned. Is there anything else you wanted to show, Alan, or do you think that's a good?
Honestly, I'm well involved with you guys in this. So if you guys are happy with what you've shown, I'm happy with what you've shown. I think it's a really good sort of. You've done a good breakdown of what's been shown off and what's available in the route, and you've given enough sort of tidbits left for the players to find out afterwards. So I'm really impressed with that. It's been really nice. Honestly, it's been really nice sitting here, actually being the viewer of this, but also. So it's been really good. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah. What I will do is I'll now go through the details for you all. So, as I said, this is out tomorrow, so you haven't got to wait long at all. The excitement, it's all coming very, very soon. So it's £24.99, €29.99, $29.99. And as I said, it will be out on our usual platforms at usual times. What was it I was going to say? Sorry, it's got it's a 27-mile route. You get the two sort of you get the network, which has got sort of two routes and a branch. 17 stations, the 323 EMU in Northern Trains livery. 5 scenarios, 2 timetables, one being the weekday timetable, one being the Sunday timetable. There's quite a few collectibles. There's also a lot of timetabled layers. One of the things with the timetabled layers, let me just get this up. So our Steam Summer Sale is currently on as well. So if you wanted to say, for example, if you didn't have the Avanti West Coast Pendolino, that's got 75% off on Steam.
75%?
It has indeed.
Wow.
Yeah, the West Coast Main Line, London Milton Keynes has got 50% off, and the West Coast, London Milton Keynes, and the Midland Main Line has got 50% off as well. So there's quite a few bits you can go and pick up to make this timetable, fill your timetable out. And yes, and don't forget also, if you're on Steam and you own Glossop, you also get 20% off when you buy Manchester Airport Commuter. I think that's everything. I was
waiting for you to run out of breath as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's everything. So that was a really good stream. Thanks ever so much, Alan, for joining. It's been great having you on.
But yes, can I just say also a massive shout out to both of you that have been really instrumental in making this work. So thank you very, very much, DCG, and Jamie and Matt as well, who've been both instrumental in the process of getting this route out. Many a call to Matt and many a call to, Jamie very, very recently, but many a call to Matt out how this is going. But again, a massive thanks to all of you guys in the community that have taken this on as something you want to buy. That's cool. Go and buy it. Go and enjoy yourselves. This is the beginning, is what I'll say. This is the start of something.
Yeah, and as you said, give feedback as well. Because as you said, it's gonna, the more feedback you give, the better.
Haven't had a chance, honestly, talking to you guys, I haven't had a chance to read through the chat, but I would definitely have a read through the chat after this. And do use the DG forums or the wherever you want to go and give your feedback.
Yeah,
it'll all be listened to. Again, the team that's worked on this: Hayden, Kieran, Danny, Nick, Dom, and Adam. All those guys that worked on this have done a sterling job, and I can't take any credit for them. None of this is my credit. It's not my route. I've been involved in it, but it's not mine. Those guys have done the world of good for this. So it's their route, not really mine. But yeah, a massive thank you to all of you guys at DG as well. It's been really,
Thanks,
really good.
Alan.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's been, just speaking from my perspective, it's been a pleasure working with the team, and going on that journey. And maybe one of the things that would be really good at some point, Alan, is to try and think about how we can share that journey with people, and so because I know there's a lot of other people who are aspiring developers who are curious to know what happens, from how do you get started, and then how does that become a released thing? That's a long journey,
It's a 24-month journey for us, but yes, I would love to be part of that.
Yeah.
I think honestly that is one of the things I think is slightly, it can be missing sometimes from TSW, is how much people need to be aware of what goes on in the background and how much is needed by the people that do it. And I think, and not even just talking about you guys, but how sometimes negative feedback or critical feedback or anything like that can be seen as a negative thing, but also how not knowing what actually goes through in the development process of these sort of routes is key, I think, to the future of TSW massively. And yeah, I'll happily help you out with any way that I can do that. 100%.
I'll talk to the Dovetail Live team and see if we can't figure out how we pull something together then, because I do get that question a number of times. People a bit daunted by the process, and it's, there is a process there, but there are other developers who have started with a small thing like a gameplay pack, or other developers like yourself who have been like, no, all we want to do is make a route. And hey, again, we can explain that process. And we can't show how to use Unreal, but there's also a lot of tools out there, or lots of guides out there that will show you how to use Unreal. So it's a journey that realistically anybody can take. We'll try and think about how we can pull something together. I do want to just finish up with a quick shout out once again to Steve, Ryan, David, and Laura in the third party team. They look after all of the third party developers. They provide an absolute mountain of effort and resources and guidance and tutorials and also then just the actual job of the process. They'll put people in touch with. I know, Alan, your team have had discussions a few occasions I'm aware of with team members, like engineering teams and so forth, to sort of try and understand some of the things that are going on there, and that's what we're here for. And then Steve's team manage that and make sure that happens. And I'm incredibly grateful for the work that they do. I know you are. You've said so, and it's through what that group of people are doing. The Steve, Ryan, David, and Laura.
It's the only reason I'm here now. Honestly, Matt, they've done a sterling job. And yeah, don't think of TSW as the hardest thing you're ever going to get into. It's got a learning curve, but it's not the hardest thing, and it is worthwhile. I've really enjoyed being part of the process.
Yeah, once you've done it, actually go back and you're like, oh, actually now I know these things. They're probably be a lot easier the second time around. Actually, a lot less daunting and a heck of a lot easier, because and the team will help you. If when you've got a project in there, you can just literally, they will answer any questions. And they're there to work with you, help you, and so forth. So whenever we have third party on, I do want to try and just make sure that any other aspiring third party developers are sharing the love and understanding that we're here for you.
100%.
Definitely. Right. Further than that, I think we'll finish it there. But thank you all again, and not sure. I know someone had asked about the next stream. I'm not sure when the next one is. Keep an eye on our usual spaces, and I'll announce it very soon. So with that, have a lovely evening, rest of you all, and we'll see you all very soon.
Thanks for joining us, Alan, and thank you for joining us, everyone, on the chat. We'll catch you later on. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.